Right now, Democrats are releasing a plan to decriminalize marijuana that they say would help reduce racial disparities in incarceration.
And construction on a bridge in downtown Janesville is being pushed back once again. We'll have an update on the timeline.
Plus, cab drivers in Madison think they should be exempt from the $40 wheel tax that'll help pay for the city's bus rapid transit system.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
It wasn't so long ago. Anybody remember this? 2016, 55 degrees for trick-or-treaters out on Halloween. That beautiful weather made it easy to show off the costumes.
It certainly did, but this year it's a much different story. Very cold with a blanket of snow on the ground. Gary Canolti shares what you need to know to prepare your children tomorrow.
Maybe have them carry a shovel, Gary.
Well, yeah, they might need the shovel to get to trick-or-treating. I think the good news is most of the snow will be over with by the time the trick-or-treaters head out. In fact, the Halloween forecast right now calls for temperatures to start out barely above freezing at 4 p.m. and skies will actually clear out, but look at those temperatures with the snow on the ground and additional snow on the way. That's going to keep things cold, and you can see the snow already moving through southern Wisconsin. Right now, visibility is starting to drop over southwestern Wisconsin down to 1.25 miles in Boscobel. That's an indication the snow is coming down pretty rapidly. By the time all is said and done, we're looking at about a 1 to 4 inch snowfall, maybe a little bit more down towards Janesville and eastward toward areas west of Milwaukee. But the farther north and west you go, the lesser the snow amounts will be. Expect light snow overnight through tomorrow morning. Probably in Madison ending around noon and a little bit later east of Madison, but it'll be a cold Halloween with a high of 34. Later on, we'll take a look at a forecast that unfortunately includes more cold weather through all of next week.
Possessing small amounts of marijuana is a crime in Wisconsin, but a group of Democrats is trying to change that with a new proposal.
Rose Schmidt tells us why Republicans don't support the idea. Rose?
In Wisconsin, people who are African American are arrested for marijuana possession at least 4 times the rate of people who are white. A new Democratic bill aims to address that and level the playing field, but it's unlikely to pass with Republicans in control of the state legislature. If you're caught with fewer than 28 grams of pot, you would not face charges in Wisconsin under a new Democratic proposal.
It's a shame because marijuana, again, is not a reason to serve a prison sentence. Marijuana is not a reason to lose out on a job or a place to live. It's not a reason to lose out on an opportunity to go to school or get financial aid.
Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes and Democratic lawmakers unveiled a new plan Wednesday to decriminalize marijuana, saying it will break down barriers and decrease racial disparities in the criminal justice system.
It is absolutely wrong and disingenuous to continue this needless cycle of discriminatory enforcement of state laws that prop up the system of mass incarceration.
How do you feel about decriminalization of marijuana?
You know, I'm just not in favor of that either.
Republican leaders don't support the idea, with Assembly Speaker Robin Vos saying it's a federal crime. And in Wisconsin, local district attorneys can decide whether to issue charges for marijuana possession.
We're certainly not going to prohibit that, but at the same time, I don't know if it's right for us to make a policy decision statewide that using an illegal drug just simply becomes something now where it's not a serious crime.
Throughout Dane County, if we encounter somebody for no other criminal charge who's smoking a doobie in their backyard, we're not going to arrest them for possession.
Dane County Sheriff Dave Mahoney says locally the DA sets a threshold for whether to charge someone, but offenders only tend to be prosecuted if they have larger amounts in higher grade, with the sole purpose of selling that marijuana.
We don't have the law enforcement capacity to go out and enforce simple possession of marijuana.
Now, statewide, Mahoney says he does not support decriminalization or full legalization, partially because of concerns about distribution. Mahoney is open to medical marijuana, as is Vos. Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald says he is long opposed to decriminalization and doubts the latest bill will win support among Republicans.
Rose, thank you. A man in stable condition after being shot in Sun Prairie at an apartment building last night just before 7:30. This was at the Arlington Apartments near Highway 151 near North Bird Street. A 26-year-old man shot in the stomach area. Suspect took off before police arrived. They're investigating and believe it is an isolated incident. The Middleton man has been found guilty of sexually assaulting children in a pool. 59-year-old Kevin Welton was charged with 3 counts of first-degree sexual assault of a child under the age of 13. According to a criminal complaint, those incidents happened at Harvard Athletic Club, one back in December of 2010, another in June of last year. Welton was banned from the athletic club. A sentencing hearing scheduled for January 27th. Drivers will have to wait even longer to use Janesville's Milwaukee Street Bridge.
Construction there is already months behind schedule. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter joins us from our bureau at the Janesville Gazette with why the DOT says that deadline is moving further and further back. Adam?
Yeah, well, Eric and Charlotte, at first, the Milwaukee Street Bridge project in Janesville was supposed to be done by the middle of the summer. Then it was delayed until the fall, and now is delayed again, as late as potentially this next upcoming spring. Now, the DOT is behind this project and says that the delays are because of the rising water in the Rock River. That's what's keeping workers from doing their job, and that the river would have to drop close to another 2 inches for them to continue. City of Janesville says it's hopeful at least a portion of the bridge could open this winter.
Our preference would be is that once you get that part of the road project complete, that's part of the bridge project work, that they at least get 1 lane westbound open up. It relieves the traffic we're getting on other streets, primarily Court Street, but more importantly, provide better access to the businesses on the Milwaukee Street.
The DOT says it is a possibility that a portion of the bridge could open this winter. Now, the contractor behind the project, Zenith Tech, is facing a possibility of fines of up to $2,000 for every single day that the project goes behind schedule. Now, Zenith Tech did not respond for a request for comment tonight.
Adam, thank you. Wisconsin has once again been identified as worst in the country for the academic achievement gap. The National Assessment of Educational Progress tests students in 4th and 8th grade on math and reading. Results from tests this past spring show overall Wisconsin's scores were above the national average, but African American students scored below the national average, and scores for the lowest performing students have declined over the past decade. New at 6, a suicide prevention hotline still hasn't received $110,000 in funding that lawmakers approved a month ago. The money is for the Center for Suicide Awareness's Hope Line that allows people to text instead of call on the phone. A spokeswoman for the Department of Health Services says the agency is working through the, quote, normal course of business to get the funding out, and it will be released soon.
Democratic State Representative Chris Taylor of Madison says she's even more alarmed about the possibility of F-35 jets coming to Madison after a trip to South Burlington, Vermont. Vermont's National Guard has been flying 2 F-35s there since last month, and that number will soon become 20 by next summer. Representative Taylor says the area impacted by the fighter jet noise there is similar to Madison's community near Truax Field. Dense residential areas with high percentages of families with color and low incomes.
Literally, people do not know what they should do. They don't know what their future holds, if they're going to be able to stay in their homes, if they're going to have to move, if they're going to have to wait years for soundproofing, which Burlington is estimating it's going to take 10 to 20 years.
Taylor says there's still lots of missing information, like how much louder the F-35s are compared to the F-16s, and when will takeoffs and landings actually happen at Truax. The Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce says 4 recent unscheduled F-35 flights to and from Truax yielded 1 noise complaint.
A controversial wheel tax that adds a $40 registration fee for vehicle owners in the city will be enacted early next year. Now that it's officially passed, Madeline O'Neill dives into some of its impacts. Maddie?
Well, Eric and Charlotte, according to city documents, there are vehicles that are exempt from this fee, including human service vehicles that transport the disabled and elderly, along with buses. That leaves plenty who do have to pay the tax, many who are worried about its effects.
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, people are already struggling to make ends meet.
Here at the Bridge Lake Point Winona Neighborhood Center.
We're friends. We're all friends.
The topic is one that affects nearly everyone. An added $40 registration fee for vehicle owners in the city.
It's another financial burden.
Part of the money will go toward creating a bus rapid transit system that has goals of addressing travel inequities with plans to add new routes to South Side communities with few options like this one.
It's fine to come up with all these wonderful ideas, but I mean, is it really worth it? I don't know. It doesn't give me a whole lot of faith in a new system when the old system is still broke.
Some regulars here say they would like to see improvements in the bus system.
I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm saying that it places an undue burden on people that can't afford it.
I'll be honest, the first thing that ran through my mind was, it's going to cost me how much to register my car now?
That's just for Ingrid Stark's personal car. Then she has to consider all the cars Union Cab has.
As a member of Union Cab, it's like, well, that's a lot of $40 fees with a 60 cab fleet.
As part of the regional transportation system itself, Union Cab workers support a rapid transit system in the city.
That cuts down on the traffic downtown. That's going to make it easier for all of us.
With a number of vehicle exemptions, some Union Cab members wonder if not exempting taxis was an oversight, especially with all the fees cab companies already pay.
We have all those requirements of wheel taxes. One more thing on top of it.
Another expense these drivers are worried about as well.
I just think it's unfair to those who really can't afford it.
I also spoke with Badger Cab and Madison Taxi. They both say that they'll take a hit from that added fee as well. Union Cab would like taxis to be considered exempt. I haven't heard back from the mayor's office today asking about that. But last night at the meeting, the mayor acknowledged adding the wheel tax was a tough decision to make, but she said it was the only realistic option to have this rapid bus system and close the budget hole.
Learning more about the impact every day. Maddie, thank you. Next at 6, Miller has been one of the biggest names in beer in Wisconsin since 1855, but now some historic changes. The Milwaukee mayor weighs in with what it means for jobs.
And there's more local news ahead. People in the Tenny Lapham neighborhood are concerned construction detours could make for unsafe conditions for trick-or-treaters. That story tonight on News 3 Now at 10. Looking ahead, the parent company of Miller Coors plans to drop Miller from its brand name. Starting January 1st, the company will be known as Molson Coors Beverage Company. As part of a revitalization plan, the company will eliminate about 500 jobs following a 3% drop in sales in the third quarter. But all functional support jobs will be moved to Milwaukee. Mayor Tom Barrett says that is a win for the city.
We are a proud home, not only for Miller, but for all brewing in Milwaukee. It's part of our heritage. It's obviously part of our history. It's part of our presence. And with the announcement today from Molson Coors, it is clearly part of our future as well.
The Molson Coors Beverage Company CEO says he sees future growth potential outside the beer market. A group of lawmakers wants to make Colby the official state cheese of Wisconsin. A bill introduced on Friday would add the designation to the Wisconsin Blue Book. Right now, Wisconsin cheese as a whole is considered the official dairy product of the state.
Willie Street Co-op is getting a shout out for its commitment to recruiting and hiring people with disabilities. Today, Department of Workforce Development Secretary Caleb Frostman presented the co-op with an exemplary employer award. He says no matter the unemployment rate, inclusive workforce recruitment should be happening all the time. A co-op spokesperson says they want to make sure everyone sees a reflection of themselves in the store.
We try to be very flexible and accommodating wherever possible. There are plenty of things to do at the co-op, and so we can work with staff and find something that will work for them.
And Governor Tony Evers has declared October Disability Employment Awareness Month in Wisconsin, encouraging businesses to provide opportunities for everyone.
The Wisconsin State Patrol is recognizing law enforcement officers from across the state who have saved lives. Governor Tony Evers recognized 59 people, including troopers, government employees, and citizens, for serving and protecting their community. The State Patrol's K-9 unit also received an award. Coming up in sports, the Nationals have stayed alive, but it all comes down to Game 7 tonight to see if they can get the first World Series win in franchise history.
And round 2 of the snow will start blanketing your Halloween decorations tonight. Gary will have your trick-or-treat forecast next. We do have some breaking news into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. We are learning the names of the officers now on paid administrative leave after a fatal officer-involved shooting that happened Sunday night on Madison's west side along Raymond Road. Sergeant Ryan Gibson, who has 18 years of experience with the Madison Police Department, Officer Sonny Martinez, who has 11 years with the department, and Officer Justin Nelson, who has 5 years of service. We do not know which officer fired their weapon. 63-year-old Dean Thomas was killed in the shooting. Officials say he was firing a gun at officers.
Well, lots of people are talking about the snow that we're going to be getting for Halloween. I don't think anybody was dreaming of a white Halloween at this point.
No, but the good news is I think most of the snow, if not all of the snow, will be over with by the time the trick-or-treaters head out. Bad news is, with all that snow on the ground, it's going to be a cold Halloween. You can see on high-resolution Doppler radar right now the streaks of snow coming in. You can see these bands of slightly darker blue. That's where the heavier bands of snow are, basically from Madison westward now. That will start filling in over southeastern Wisconsin over the next couple of hours. Take a look at the visibilities. The lower the visibility, heavier the snow. Visibility down to 1.25 miles in Boscobel, 2.5 miles in Dubuque, Iowa. Here in Madison, we've had just a few flurries, 10-mile visibility so far. Those visibilities will drop off as the snow starts. Winter weather advisories in effect tonight for Dane County, as well as Lafayette and Greene counties from 10 p.m. tonight until noon tomorrow. Areas east of Dane County, including Rock, Jefferson, and Dodge counties, and eastward into the Milwaukee area. That advisory runs until 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. The snow will linger a little bit longer there. That's where the heavier totals are expected to be. And farther to the south, traveling into northern Illinois or eastern Iowa, there are winter weather advisories there. As far as future track is concerned, the snow will overspread much of southern Wisconsin tonight. By early tomorrow morning, we'll still see snow around. But by noon tomorrow, notice how the snow starts to shift east of Madison. So areas west of Madison may already see the snow have come to an end or just taper to a few flurries. By the time 4 o'clock rolls around, kids head home from school and some areas start their trick-or-treating. You can see much of the snow now into the Milwaukee area and away from Madison. Again, there could be a couple of flurries left over, but our western viewers probably start seeing some sunshine as well, with temperatures, though, staying on the cold side, only in the middle 30s, and then we drop off into the lower 20s with all the snow on the ground for tomorrow night, and then we head into Friday with the possibility for some drizzle or flurries, high temperatures in the upper 30s. Snowfall amounts probably around 4 inches from Janesville over toward Jefferson and Waukesha, and then to the west. The farther north and west you go, the amounts taper off. North and west of the Wisconsin River, probably around an inch or less. Here in Madison, I'm thinking somewhere around 3 inches of snow. As far as an alert day, still continues that tomorrow for a wet and cold trick-or-treat forecast. Those temperatures, though, dropping off into the upper 20s by the time trick-or-treating ends tomorrow, and it's going to be a very cold Halloween across southern Wisconsin. Again, winter weather advisories in effect tonight into tomorrow morning and afternoon for areas, for Dane County and areas of the south and east. Snow developing overnight, low temperature dropping to 28. About 1 to 3 inches of accumulation by morning, and maybe an additional 1 to 3 inches during the day tomorrow. The heavier amounts south and east of Madison, high of 34, but the snow will end in the afternoon, and our western viewers will start to see some sunshine. Again, heaviest amounts down towards Janesville, Jefferson, farther north and west of Madison, lesser amounts. 7 to 10 day forecast. Snow on the ground means cold weather. Highs only in the 30s through Saturday, low 40s early next week, and then back to the 30s for next week. By the following weekend, high temperatures may struggle to get to around 30.
What does good sportsmanship look like? That was the discussion at Oregon High School today. We'll have the story coming up in sports. The Packers play at the Los Angeles Chargers Sunday afternoon at 3:25. You can watch that game right here on News 3 Now. The Chargers feature a Wisconsin Badger backfield with fullback Derek Watt and running back Melvin Gordon. You know, it's weird. The Packers are 7-1, but for some reason we're not sure that they're that great of a team. One reason for some hesitation is that their defense, as good as it's been, tends to give up big plays called explosive plays. Those are plays where the other team gains more than 20 yards. A couple of the Kansas City touchdowns Sunday were 29 and 30 yards. Well, might be a little nitpicky, but not to Matt LaFleur.
I know one thing that we definitely have to improve on is giving up those explosive plays. We've given up far too many, and those can really burn you. Our defense has done a lot of good things. We've forced a number of turnovers. I think we're near the top in turnover differential, so that's a credit. That's a team goal, but like always, you're always looking at ways to improve.
For a Wednesday, there's a lot of Badger women's sports home games today. At the Kohl Center tonight, the Badger women's basketball team plays Whitewater in an exhibition game at 7 o'clock. Also at 7, the Badger volleyball team tries to keep its undefeated Big Ten season going with a match against Maryland at the Fieldhouse. And this afternoon, the women's soccer team has a rescheduled game with Ohio State at the McClymonds Complex. The Badgers' Danny Rhodes gets her 7th game-winning goal of the season. By the way, Danny Rhodes is T.J. Watt's girlfriend. Final score, Ohio State loses to Wisconsin 2-1. The Badgers are unbeaten in their last 17 games at home this season, and Wisconsin is 8-0-1 at McClymonds. Game 7 of the World Series is tonight. Washington and Houston tied 3 games apiece. The Nationals stayed alive last night with a 7-2 win, punctuated by what's the new bat flip. The Astros' George Springer carried his bat to first base after a home run. Then the Nats' Juan Soto did the same after his home run. Yeah, whatever. Game 7 tonight just after 7 in Houston. Good sportsmanship is a real issue in all of sport, including the high schools. Today at Oregon High School, the 16 schools of the Badger Conference tried to do something about promoting good sportsmanship. They held the Badger Conference Sportsmanship Summit. Each school sent students to discuss what good sportsmanship looks like and what parents, players, and administrators can do to emphasize the good and try to eliminate the bad. 2 years ago, the Badger Conference really focused its efforts to promote good sportsmanship, and it's working.
And it's really something that's paid dividends already in just a short amount of time that we've been focusing on. We've seen improvements in our student section behaviors, but we've also seen more consistent expectations across the 16 schools. The Badger Conference is a big conference, so that's really helped our sportsmanship out too.
I had a chance to be on the media panel to discuss sportsmanship issues in Oregon today. It's a complicated subject to be sure, but one simple thing everyone seemed to agree on: support and cheer for your team and don't cheer against your opponents. Simple yardstick. So hope you put it in practice.
Great conversation to have. Gary Canalti joining us now and talking more about tomorrow and what we can expect.
Well, snow's here now, or at least for our western viewers, and expect some slippery road conditions tonight and tomorrow, but the snow will gradually taper down to flurries tomorrow afternoon. You can see the visibility is dropping out to the west, an indication the snow is reaching the ground. Total snowfall, maybe around 4 inches down toward Janesville and Jefferson, about 3 inches in Madison, and lesser amounts to the north and west.
All right, Gary, thank you. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 6.
Have a great evening, and we'll see you back here at 10.